Welcome to our webinar, Mindfulness for Beginners. My name is Angelica. I'm a recovery college trainer and my special area is mindfulness, self-compassion, relaxation, meditation, so that's sort of the area of my expertise. And today we want to explore mindfulness. Now we all hear about mindfulness, we're all familiar with the word, but what does it actually mean? What is mindfulness? And how can it benefit us? So instead of giving you a few explanations and definitions, I thought it might be actually the best if you experience it. Now, as always, a little word of caution. If you do any exercise and it doesn't feel right to you, particularly if you feel you get a bit more anxious or you start to feel overwhelmed in some way, please do stop. There is no point putting yourself through a meditation which doesn't feel right. So maybe then today isn't the right day to try out mindfulness. But for most of us, it should be absolutely fine. So what I'd like you to do now is just to sit very comfortably, relax, having your feet flat on the ground, sitting upright if you can. And if you wish, you can leave your eyes open for this little experiment of mindfulness. And the exercise we are going to do is called doing nothing. So this is exactly what I want you to do now, is just sitting here, being aware of your body, being aware of the space surrounding your body, and just sitting here now doing nothing. So when the gong rang, were you doing nothing? Or were you in fact thinking? And please notice this without any judgment. And I'd like you to go back to just sitting here doing nothing, and that includes not thinking. Once again, what was your mind doing when you hear the bells ring? Were you doing nothing? Or were you thinking? And again, just coming back to sitting with the intention to do nothing, including not thinking. So again, where was your mind? What were you doing? You're just sitting here doing nothing or thinking. So coming out now of this experiment, I'd like you just to reflect for a moment what happened. Were you in fact doing nothing? Or was your mind engaged in thinking? Chances are that you will relatively quickly start thinking again. So what does that tell us? So you decided just to sit and do nothing, including not thinking, but very quickly the mind probably started to think again. So that tells us that even if you make a conscious decision not to think, it's getting overruled by the very strong habit of the mind to think. But the mind really compulsively thinks all the time. So noticing that this is the normal condition of the mind is the first thing in mindfulness. So becoming aware of the compulsive habit of the mind to think. But I'd like you to do a second exercise, and that is about settling the mind. So we want to see how does it feel if our mind is a little bit settled. So if you imagine a jar of water, so if you keep stirring that water in the jar, it will swirl around. But if you leave it, at some point it will start to settle. And the same is with our mind. So coming out of this little experiment, you probably noticed that although you had the intention to do nothing, which included not to think as well, your mind still very quickly started thinking. Even if we make the conscious decision not to think, the mind still will think. So there is a very, very strong habit of the mind to think. The mind actually thinks compulsively all the time. And I like to do an exercise with you now, which settles the mind. So again, I invite you to sit comfortably with your feet flat on the ground. And again, you can leave your eyes open if you wish. And I'd like you to, first of all, just focus on your breathing. And what we want to do in this exercise is to make the in-breath and the out-breath equal length. And we can do this by counting. So if you want, you can count in for 2, 3, or 4, and count out again for 2, 3, or 4. Doesn't matter to which number you count. What matters is that the in and out breaths are pretty much of equal length. And if you don't like counting, you could also use phrases. You could say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out. That would work equally well. So equalizing now your breath, either using counting or phrases. So thoughts will continue to pop up in your mind, which is absolutely normal. We are not looking for a blank mind. We're not trying to get rid of any thoughts. When we notice that a thought comes in, that's fine. And then we just return our focus back to the breathing and the counting or using the phrases. And maybe while doing this practice, you feel that you need to achieve something, or you wonder whether you're getting it right. well, that are thoughts too. So I'd like you to allow yourself perhaps not to think of any striving, any gaining, any achieving, succeeding, failing, losing, winning. Just be with your counting, with your breath. The in-breath is energizing, while the out-breath is relaxing. And we are coming now soon towards the end of our experiment, and I'd like you just to focus a little bit more on the out-breath and see if you can feel that the body relaxes a little bit when you're breathing out. And perhaps the mind can learn from the body. So the body releases breath and relaxes, and the mind releases its habit of thinking and settles. So now as we are coming out of the settling the mind exercise, I'd like you to come back to your normal breathing. So just breathe as you always do. And again, let's just have a little reflection on the exercise. What did you notice? Was your mind settling a little bit? Was it as busy as before? And please remember, there is no right or wrong. It's about noticing what is happening in the moment. And that brings me to one of my favorite definitions of mindfulness. This one is by Rob Nairn from the Mindfulness Association UK. Knowing what is happening while it is happening without preference. So I hope you got a little bit of a flavor of what mindfulness is about. And if you want to explore this further, we do offer an introduction to mindfulness course. So hopefully I will see you there at some point in the future. Bye for now.